Hello, I am Chris,
I'm Edison.
And I'm Kyle.
and this is Tanks and Thanks.
Do we want an intro? Yeah, that's the intro.
Yeah.
We're
We
back.
back, boys.
Yay. First, we need to
Welcome,
apologize.
welcome.
We
What?
weren't live. I said we need to apologize for not being live. And I was gone the week before that. You're
Well,
missing it.
okay.
Yeah.
Last week was my B. I apologize profusely. I had a personal engagement.
Why can't you be in two places at once?
Well, so
Ah,
I don't have a cloning machine, unfortunately,
dang it.
or like the time turner from Harry Potter or whatever.
Kyle might know this movie, but there's a really old movie about a dog in a teleporter in a cloning machine that it was
What movie is
it's a
that?
very I can't remember the name of it, and that's why I wanted to ask you because it was the 80s. But
Well, I was pretty young still then. Thanks, sir.
you sure? I thought you were like 40 then.
Well, getting there. I don't know. I tried to Google it real quick. I vaguely remember that as well, but I would
Yeah.
have been like
Anyway,
2 or 3.
that's my own internal fear of, at least from a science point of view, of teleportation, because I know for a fact it'd just be hell, and
Oh.
things like that would happen all the time.
I like the little short from Team Fortress 2 where they teleport bread and it gets a bunch of tumors. And so they all think with the usage of the teleportation that they're all gonna die soon. So they're like,
Yeah.
well, so the soldier just teleports bread for 2 days straight, and it becomes a giant monster. But it turns out only bread gets tumors when you teleport it.
Oh,
Um,
close that up then. Yeah, and then I was
Well-
sick the week before, and we had trouble last week with streaming. But anyway,
but it's fine. We're back now. Hi, everybody.
here we are.
I would like to first state my new boss and director of the zoo watches, so I'm scared. But be on your best behavior, humans.
You should only be scared if you have something to hide,
That's okay. Okay,
right?
fine.
That's what it sounds like when they try and take away your privacy.
That's true. This is true.
What do you mean try? They already have. Like literally, you have a phone. You have no privacy anymore, sir.
I mean, I have a Vizio TV.
It's even
You know.
worse.
Yeah. Luckily, it's not connected to anything, in theory. But
Anyway,
Moving on.
how was I'm interested to hear Edison's week, because Kyle was sick and I had a amazing week that I'm pretty sure will take up a lot of time, and so I don't want to yap too much.
well, so mine's kind of related to yours in a sense.
Ooh.
You know,
Go on.
I got kind of sick of my job, because corporate's just being weird about stuff. Like, it's just getting to be at the point where it's just like, this isn't worth my time, my effort, or my mental health. And so I've started applying different places. And I actually got a call back from Petco today. So
Woohoo!
the
That'd be
lesser
kinda cool,
of the two
man.
evils. So I'm not.
That
calling
is
Petco
true. It
evil.
is the lesser of two evils. So
And this Petco is actually really pretty good about fish and stuff. So I'm like, I can live with it.
That'd be cool. You could do a lot of good for the hobby, I think. working
Yeah, I
on-
think it would be a lot of fun to like just info dump about fish on people who are interested in fish.
Yeah.
is it sad that I immediately thought of abusing your employee discount, like almost the second you said Petco?
Right.
Yeah, you have
Buy
my
everything.
phone number.
Buy all the decorations super cheap and then like sell them on eBay to turn a flip. That's where my mind goes.
It's like the best. So when I worked for Best Buy, they made me sign. You have to sign an agreement that says you're not going to buy cables and resell them because the cable
Oh,
markup value for any market is so high.
yeah.
Like
Never buy
it's I don't want to
cables,
say yeah, it's like a running tradition that on your last day of being employed at Best Buy, you have to spend over $200 on cables. And so I did way back when, and I haven't had to buy cables ever since because I still am using the ones.
The only downside that I know is like, the network cables and USB cables and all that stuff, they get to next gens and they get faster and faster. And there's been times where like I pulled out an old cable, like, I saved this for 8 years. Now I get to use it. And then it's like a Gen 1. It's like
Yeah.
slow speed. That's the only time it's like
funny.
Well, as we say, like with networking and stuff, copper is copper.
Yeah.
It still
I say that
conducts.
all the time.
Sometimes.
All that
Sometimes.
too.
Well, you have a different
Yeah.
connector type, but like with like network cable specifically, like category 5, category 6, category 7, category 8, as long as it's the right connector, you can generally get the same speeds out of it. They've just optimized it so it can get faster speeds out of it, but generally you can get like as long as your computer's like or what your network device is compatible with,
Yeah, the controllers.
Cat 6, it can generally get like in between Cat 5, Cat 6 speeds on a Cat 5 cable.
Mm.
Nice. I always thought you had to gen up like USBs, and USB-C,
Yeah.
and there's variations of USB-C now. And
Nah, because doesn't matter. They all have the same connector type, the little RJ45.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, all right.
But yeah, it's exciting.
Anyway, Kyle, how was sorry, Edison, I didn't mean to cut you off. I know that
Yeah, no, I was just saying it was exciting. I was gonna make a funny comment about your cable thing because I don't have an agreement like that at the holiday, and there's going to be a Zyn shortage, and there's a lot of people switching from cigarettes to Zyn, and so I'm like,
oh, so yeah, I mean
what if I
that's a
start
good
scalping
option.
those?
Scalping them.
Yeah,
Want some Zyn?
yeah, just take them out to
You
my
want some
car in the
Zyn?
parking lot.
I got you would literally be a supplier for someone.
My venture into drug dealing.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. As much as Utah would allow you because that's the only legal drug there technically.
Basically.
Well, it would technically be a third-party sale because I'd buy it and then I'm not a business. So it's all
Yeah, but you don't have a license. You don't. Oh, yeah, I guess that's true. If you are doing it third party, doesn't matter. Anyway,
I'm not giving it to minors.
before we convince Edison to continue on his drug rant, Kyle, how was your week?
Good. Broke my ankle last week. That was fun. So now I'm stuck in my guest bedroom on ice for.
So we have heard the story. I have heard the story about how you broke your ankle. I don't think the viewers at large have heard the story of how you broke your ankle. And we just need to know that you're not elderly yet, but we want to hear the story, old man.
So the frame. Oh. I did I slipped the last couple stairs carrying some stuff down and twist my ankle and bam, down I go. The wife's yelling from upstairs, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "No, kids are asleep." No one woke up. I don't know how that happens. You open a can of Coke and you wake up. You're like, "What's that?" Oh, and I'm like, "Shoot, I think I broke something," because I've broken a lot of things, had a handful of surgeries in my life. So I'm like, I think I broke something. But then it was snowing. We got like 6 inches last weekend. And I don't dare drive when all the crazies are out slipping and sliding and playing bumper cars. So it took me a couple days before I was able to get to an x-ray. And they're like, yeah. Dude, it was crazy though. I twisted my ankle so far that the tendon came off the bone and took bone with it.
Oh,
so like,
that wasn't I don't want to say that sound. There's a sound that's probably associated with that would give me PTSD.
It's like, and you're like, yep, yeah. that I've never felt that before. So that's been my weekend. Been stuck in the guest bedroom working on a laptop and trying not to go stir crazy, playing Sims 4 because I have nothing else on this laptop I can play.
That's sad.
Yeah, oh, it'll heal. Off I go into my crazy shenanigans once again. But you started a new job, Ian.
Yeah, I started my new job working as an educator for an AZA accredited zoo, and I don't want to say it's been interesting, but well, first off the bat, it's not exactly what I expected, but it is a job that I feel comfortable doing, right? So like, it's obviously a government job, which government jobs always things take longer, and I know like that's kind of the stigma with them, right? But I didn't realize like how long things take. You know, like this week I have literally been like the only few things I've done is multiple trainings, hiring interns, and like going through the process of rewriting our on-site education, because that's what I would be over is on-site education. And so like how to approach people in the zoo, how to teach them, what to teach them about, what kind of things you have, what kind of, you know, those kinds of things. And documenting it is a very long process because nobody had done it before, or they have, and it was just done by interns that were unpaid. And so they just kind of haphazardly threw it together.
Yeah.
But outside of that, it's kind of weird. So I'll say two very curious things about the job that, and then we'll kind of go from there. But the first thing that I found interesting was that he requires us to kind of go outside at least once a day to go look at the animals and go be with the animals, even as an educator. Obviously during season when it's busy, he's like, you're already outside anyway, teaching people about animals. It doesn't matter. But in off season, especially this week, he's like, okay, go look at this exhibit, go look at these exhibits, go hang out with these animals. On yesterday, I was able to hold multiple snakes, but my favorite is Scarlet. She's a baby corn snake that we keep because if she got out into the wild, she would breed all of her recessive traits into every corn snake in the world, and no corn snake would look as pretty and banded as normal anymore because she's basically velvet red. And the second weird thing is it's not a small operation, right? It's still a big operation comparably. It's about 55 people in total that's staffed at the zoo, and every single one of them knew my name on the fourth day. And I don't want to say that kind of attentiveness, but that kind of like community is not something I'm used to whatsoever in any job. But no, yeah, it's been great. I've really enjoyed it. And again, I was saying this earlier, but my boss, David, he watches all of these. He's the director of the zoo.
Out, David.
Hi, David. But I think he's testing me because secretly he wants me to take over the online education portion of the zoo after season. And so because I do this, he's like, okay, does he really do this, or does he kind of do this, or does he do it as like a hobby, or? But anyway.
Cool. I'm glad you're enjoying it. And the community is cool too, to have a company that everyone knows your name on the fourth day. Like that's pretty tightly knit, you know, versus punch in, punch out, and you're just a number and handing out a paycheck, you know. That's rad.
Yeah.
I dig it. All right. So we have some articles this week we want to look at. Unless there's anything else you guys want to add. No, you good?
Not really. Oh, I guess I need to apologize. I was supposed to do another video this week on Monday, but starting a new job plus everything else, I'm working my schedule out still. But hopefully...
Don't kill yourself, Chris. There's this dog movie. It's in the 80s. You probably don't know because you're too young.
I'm gonna give you a 57 Bel Air named Carrie.
Go on.
No, it's Christine, not Carrie. I'm stupid. Anyway,
So
um,
speaking of videos, I actually started on the water video I've been talking about for months.
yes, finally.
So,
Good.
like,
Look at you.
Look at this. I have a little water molecule,
Yes,
so we can like
this is the
explain
best.
pH.
With a water molecule that
Yeah, so you have the OH minus and the H plus. Water.
I'm proud of you,
He made it
Edison.
Water.
himself. Okay.
See, I liked it
Tell.
because then I was able to help my wife understand what pH is, and I'm like, if I can get the wife to understand, I can probably get other people to understand.
I'm sure she was
Yes.
dying to hear that lecture, man.
Oh yeah.
My wife just loves to hear me ramble about fish tank stuff.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But no, it'll be probably another week or so, but I get off of work on Thursday and then I'll be off for the weekend for a 3-day weekend. And so hopefully Friday I'll be able to film, Saturday, Sunday, edit it, and then next Monday I'll have it out. So
Oh,
Anyway.
on a completely unrelated note, what do I do with all these? They're little plastic fishies.
eat them.
Dump them into the municipal water supply and hope they don't breed. No.
Doesn't taste like much.
What even are they? What are they for? Where did you get?
There's so many
How?
I'll have to show you a video clip at the end because I don't want to spoil it, but it's
Oh, it's a part of the video and you bought too many of them.
yeah, I only needed one, but they came in packs of 144,
Yeah,
so I'm like,
I was gonna
what
say-
do I do with all these?
They only come in packs of 200.
Well, I mean, if you want to get rid of them, you could literally send them to me and I can give them to 5-year-olds and that'll be fun.
Yeah,
Oh, that would be
they would
fun.
love that.
I could also hide them at work as a
Okay,
party gift.
save 20 for you, and the rest go to kids.
Save 20 for you. Yeah, and then send them to me and I could probably convince, because we have like vendor days basically, like Earth Day, Water Day, Steam Day, those kinds of things, where kids come in by the freaking truckload and they go to different stalls. And I'm pretty sure I could sponsor a fish over, like, you know how people have a curtain and you throw a rod over and then people on the other side of the curtain latch a
Yeah.
fish on. Bet you I could sponsor one of those as the channel, and that would be awesome.
Here, fishy, 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 fishy.
Yes.
To the kiddos.
Perf. I think I have your address.
Probably do. If not, I could just text
I
it to
know
you.
where you live.
Could
Okay.
send it to you.
Anyway,
Let's
that
talk
was
about an
weird.
article.
Let's talk about an article.
I don't want people complaining that we ramble too much. Whatever the heck that guy's name was. Okay, so there's Regal X Tiger Angelfish. Could be the first cross, like hybrid fish.
Cross genus. So, you know, there's like you think about it like guppies, mollies, they're from the same genus, but they can interbreed sometimes.
Yeah.
They're different species, but they interbreed. And, you know, that's technically not a species then, but technically is still a species. And it's like, this is interesting because it's up a level of classification.
Yeah, it's because they had a successful the classification of a species is it needs to have an individual that is breedable and can have an offspring and make it to reproductive event, basically. The issue with a lot of the crossbreeds, like for instance, when we talk about live bearer crossbreeds, those fish are sterile. And so they can't breed. They can't have another reproductive event, which makes them not a new species. This is a crossbreed that can reproduce, which is why it's labeled as such, which is cool.
It looks like it's got like little tiger stripes on it too. I wish I could show this. Maybe I can. Maybe I'll screen share.
Yeah, do screen share.
Huh,
Let's do it.
Maybe I'll do this with the articles moving forward. Some people to be able to see what we're doing. Ah, okay.
Oh,
Look at this little cute dude.
that's a little cute dude.
I like it.
I wish
it's
I
like-
was
Crazy too because of how stark difference it is compared to the other two, the parents. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Super cute. I like them.
Yeah.
It's it looks like saltwater.
Yeah, it is saltwater.
It's
If
the next
you,
$1,000 fish.
I'm pretty sure if that one makes it to adulthood, it'll be massive, like probably about yay big or so. You know, regular size of an angelfish in any type of tank in saltwater. But the odds of it making it to adulthood is a little skeptical, but we'll see.
Just because of genes and not knowing if they're good enough.
Yeah, because usually, so the way that mutations work in genetic pools, right, is microsatellites come out of somewhere, and chromosomes need.
No, I'm teasing. Continue. I appreciate the explanation. I really do. I'm ignorant.
Okay.
I'm super ignorant.
No, you're fine. So microsatellite genes are like hidden genes that have no attributes on the surface that we can see. People also call them pop-up genes, right? So out of random, someone has blue eyes when they had their entire family is green-eyed, right? Kind of things like that. In different genera species where you're basically making a new species, your chromosomes need to match up with each other. So the little X's. If they don't match up, it dies. Which is part one of that. Part two is all of the chromosomes are full of these microsatellites that pop in and out and, you know, basically display whenever they happen to display. We can't choose that. It just happens. It could be that these chromosomes matched up enough, but the microsatellites are the actual thing that are keeping this angelfish alive because it popped up and is able to survive whatever type of chromosomal difference is happening.
Well, and then there's also the whole thing. It's likely not able to reproduce. It's kind of like a mule.
Yeah.
Time will tell. Hey,
Time
did we
will
ever find
tell.
out? Sorry, not to like change subjects real quick, but since we're talking about
Stingray.
satellite genes and all, the
Yeah,
stingray.
we got to talk about the stingray.
I don't know anything. I don't know.
I have no idea. I don't have my. Can someone look it up for me?
Let's see. Should I Google, is the stingray part shark? That was the $1 million question, right?
That was the $1 million question. I'd say it'd be a little bit more than $1 million.
No, what aquarium was this at?
I think it was one in the south. It's Charlotte, maybe?
Charlotte?
No, it was Charlotte, I think. South Carolina? North Carolina? Maybe? I don't know. If you type in pregnant stingray, I guarantee you.
Stingray. It's being done. Pregnant concerns. You guys keep talking. I'll research some of this.
Cool.
See if I can get some scenes.
Yeah, I guess that's it for that article. The second article that we wanted to pop up today, we'll just kind of cover it briefly, but there's a researcher who's doing his master's thesis in like the slime coat for fish. And apparently clownfish adjust their slime coat during the seasons when anemones grow bigger or produce different chemicals for like their outside shell, because they have cnatocytes, right? The stinging genes all the time. And so those like are produced all the time, but it's just the amount as well as like the lid kind of for those stinging genes to open and come out gets thicker or thinner over time during seasons. And so clownfish apparently know when it's time and they prep for it, which is cool. So
crazy how
they'll
people
like
talk
add
about
their
it.
slime coat.
Have you ever seen a little clownfish and a little anemone? It is the cutest little thing.
I had a
Yes.
little one, a little anemone, and just a small little clown. The dude is pretty small for a little bit, and they ended up one hosted the other, however you say that, because everyone corrects you. No, it's the anemone that. Oh no, yeah, it's this one. But they were pretty cool. They were pretty tight. And then
Yeah,
that clownfish would just punk on my other clownfish all the time.
I hate
wasn't
clownfish
fun.
for that reason.
I know
Oh,
they're so
speaking of which,
aggressive.
They're-
how's
Like,
your
not
clownfish?
No one told you that clownfish were dicks.
No. I went in and they were like, these are great. They're beginner fishing. And they're like, you got to get them in pairs. And I'm like, okay, cool. And I'll get an anemone, thinking that they both hang out in there. And nope, one took on the anemone. And then anytime the other one would come near, he'd be like, boom, and hit him, peck at him, boom. I'm like, these guys are jerks, man.
Yeah,
They figured it out, but they still would fight each other.
eventually, but yeah.
It's saying that the stingray hasn't given birth yet. Can that be-
Gestation period is pretty long, so I mean,
It could be half shark.
This was as of
yeah,
April 2nd. They get an ultrasound, still no birth.
oh,
A miracle birth of the stingray, according to BlueRidgeNow.com, who is extremely creditable.
Oh yeah, BlueRidge.com. Who you trust for all your
All my
aquarium.
stingray needs. Yeah, so there's a good chance, everything's coming up and it's still talking about no birth yet, but I don't know. I have a feeling Chris is going to put his money where his mouth is.
we'll see.
Shark.
Chickens will come home to roost, and I'll be right.
It looks like there's
I'm always right.
one more article, or is it the same one? No, yeah, the mucus. But that was
Yeah,
a scientific article. It's
Yeah.
cool. It just trips me out how there's a lot of like symbiotic relationships that happen naturally, but then also in our fish tanks to some degree. We can
Yeah.
see them and view them and create them, ourselves, which is nuts. And they talk. It's like women that pregnant moms breastfeeding and the talking between breast and babies. It's like just blows my mind, man. Then we get to see it in fish tank world too, as well. I guess, just awesome. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Nature finds a way.
Yep.
Let's look at some
Um,
topics.
yeah. So there, before we hit all three of the questions, I don't know if you guys want to pull up the text I sent you or not, but or at least the photo, so that way everybody else can see it. Maybe screen share it or something. I don't know if you guys can or not.
I might be able to.
Oh yeah, I'll have to email it to myself or something because
Let me see.
super lazy.
Hold on. You friggin' millennials. You're
Excuse you.
Googling.
You're an animator. You know tech probably better than anybody else.
I know creative programs. That's about it. Okay, check this out. So this is it. Can I
Yep.
keep a female beta in a 20-gallon long tank? I have 6 glowfish, 6 neon, 5 loaches, 3 catfish, 27 glowfish. Just kidding, no glowfish.
Yeah, so I love how they always say just glowfish. Which kind of glowfish?
And then
That was your biggest
David
problem with
Hunter.
this post.
Well, no. That's not my biggest problem. That's the first problem I'm having.
In all these Facebook groups, we got a lot of blind leading blind kind of stuff. It's a
Okay.
female, should be fine. Female betas aren't very aggressive. There's plenty of sorority female beta tanks with up to 6+ females, 6+ in the same size
Mm.
or in the same tank. And then
Um,
goldfish beta live in different water temperatures.
So that's the only comment that makes any sense, but doesn't make
Yeah.
any sense.
Yeah, I was about. Yeah. Anyway, you guys go.
Besides,
First.
goldfish would probably eat a beta because they get big enough to do that.
I'm not a fish guy, but anytime I hear people putting betas in with other things, it never ends up well. And the most successful beta tanks I've seen, it's just a beta in it. That's it. A little, a water bottle with a beta in it, or a proper
Jeez.
5-10 gallon with a beta in it, and they're the star of the show, and they're happy making their little bubble nests. So that's all I can comment because I'm a plant guy. I can tell you what plants to put it with a beta.
They're
Just about
fine.
anything.
Betas don't eat plants.
You can
I know.
put just about any plants with a beta. You could
So,
probably just go for
okay.
a plant focused tank with a little beta in it. That would be fun.
So there's 2 points, or I guess there's one thing I want to explain first, and then a point I want to make. First, because there's 3 of us, I think we should vote whether this person is trolling or if they are just new to the hobby and just don't understand based off of their language or post. And second, I'm more concerned about the 3 catfish listed as options because freaking heck, man, like what kind of cat do you have? A plecos? Because common plecos are freaking massive.
Do you have,
Or
like
do
those
you?
little Oilers catfish? The
Yeah. You have corridoras? Do you have like it's
I bet it's
even
corn.
like?
I would assume it's
Well,
corn.
yeah. I mean, yeah, and that makes sense, right? In my head, especially
Well,
with all the other fish in there.
Assuming.
We are assuming, and it just scares me sometimes because I feel like that tank is, well, first off, it's really overstocked, but also for this person it doesn't sound like they're the most knowledgeable if they are a
But
new to the
website
hobby
said
type of
I
person.
can put them all together and they'd be fine.
Shut up, Kyle.
What is that website? They tell you if it's overstocked or not. I forgot. I always forget the name of it.
Aqua Advisor.
Yeah, Aqua Advisor told me it was fine.
Aqua Advisor said that it was going to be great.
They said put 8 betas in the tank. Make sure they're male on top of that.
Yeah, and you can also find articles online that say pea puffers can go alone. Don't.
I assume that they're new, and overstocking is a very newbie thing, right? We just want all the fishies, and I don't blame them if they're new and want to see all the bunch of fish run around their tank, but it is an ignorant mistake to make for sure.
Yeah.
All right. So the vote, I do like the proposed vote. Troll post or actually confused person.
Is your guys' left the same as my left too? So if we all raised our left hand.
Left.
Wait, this is my left.
Okay. Is that good?
He's the only one reversed.
Oh.
Oh wait. No, wait. We're good. Okay, so left hand if you think that it is honest beginner mistake. Right hand if troll post.
1, 2,
2, 3.
So I think that's unanimous.
Yeah, I think this one was a little easier. I think when you see troll posts, it's going to be, I feel like people who troll go a little too far. They're not very believable. So
yeah, like
I think there's a lot of sarcasm.
They wouldn't have said catfish if it was a troll post. They would have said plecos.
Yeah, you got a good point there.
They wouldn't have said glowfish. They would have said like glowfish tiger barbs or something. They would have specified instead of just glowfish.
So what you're saying is people who troll are also really knowledgeable and shouldn't troll.
Usually. Yeah, there's like a whole subreddit for it. Even though the aquarium subreddit sometimes is just circle jerking like that.
Yeah.
About that.
Anyway, I really hope this person. There's a lot of good comments on that post. I don't know how many you guys were able to see or not, but there also was a lot of really bad comments too. Like the first one, obviously, right, where someone gave the information about a female beta living with those other fish, but also completely forgot that it was a 20-gallon aquarium and they probably shouldn't put it in there. But
20 other fish?
Anyway, yeah, with 20 other fish.
Right, and I've heard a lot. I've heard a lot about female beta sororities, betas are still betas, you know.
Yeah,
Males just
they have a
tend
pecking
to
order
be-
that they have
yeah,
to go through.
males just tend to be more aggressive. That's it. Doesn't mean that females aren't aggressive.
They
Did
have
you-
a hierarchy that they need to put themselves in first, and you will lose betas in that hierarchy, guaranteed. But it takes time, and especially in a 20-gallon, you're going to lose a few anyway. But if you had a sorority in a 20-gallon, you'd end up having to buy multiple different bouts of betas, so that way, you
So
know.
they basically duke it out for some sort of hierarchy
and
in
then
Mhm.
which you go live over there, I'm over here, I get to eat first, you eat second. You start
Yep.
with 6, you end up with 4, they figure it out. Are they
Mhm.
happy in that situation? Or are they just tolerant of that situation?
Bit of both. Mostly tolerant, not happy in the sense that like they are by themselves, right? Because betas by themselves are the happiest. But female betas, if they have enough space and enough hiding places, they can tolerate it and kind of be happy because they have their own like places to go, right? It's
Yeah.
only when you get into smaller tanks where they don't have anywhere to go is when you start seeing them tolerate and not be happy.
So I put a rainbow Grommy in with a bunch of galaxies, a handful of galaxies, in a 30-gallon, and
Mhm.
this is my holding tank for plants going out essentially. But it was so big that like they never even they never even saw each other. So like you can get away with that stuff, like you said, if you have the space. But in a 20-gallon that's already overcrowded, then you throw that dude in, and it's no good. So I guess on the other
Yeah.
side of the spectrum, because there's a lot of questions, and there are a lot of questions that are asked from how much can I get away with, like not on the thriving spectrum, but like bare minimum side. So that would be like bare minimum side. Thriving, what is the smallest tank you put a beta in? And I think you already said they're best by themselves. No.
Mhm. I'd say the minimum for, I guess it depends on who I'm talking to. A 2.5 is my minimum, right? That's my own personal like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. This is what's going to give them the best amount of space, at least for them, with a heater and some sort of filtration.
So I guess the question is 2.5 bare minimum as in like they'll survive, or bare minimum as in like they'll thrive?
Thrive. Yeah. What's bare minimum
Thrive.
thriving?
Yeah,
5
I think they can thrive in a 5-gallon, but I also think that some 3 gallons can make them thrive too, depending on how you set it up.
I'll say
Yeah,
it could be
if
cozy.
it's like one of those like really long, wide,
Yeah,
because they don't need a whole lot of like depth to it.
depth. They just
5
need
gallons, or like the standard 5-gallon is pretty deep. They don't need that. They just want like more space to swim.
yeah,
and low water flow for for their bubble nests. They
yeah.
don't like high light or high flow situations from what I've seen. It's like when they can get kind of frustrated, it seems like if their bubble nests keep going missing, like to some
Well, they
degree.
also, I mean, in nature, right? What does their habitat look like? Is it fast-moving water? No, it never is.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's very low, slow, kind of high in tannins, obviously, but like, rice fields.
Kinda, yeah.
Yeah. Like there was a video I saw at one point. I wish I would have saved it, but I couldn't because I can't find it ever again. But someone's in the Philippines and they're going around to these little marsh ponds.
I saw that same video.
Yeah, so he's going around to these different marsh ponds and then laying on top of a leaf with barely any water on top of him is a king beta. And he's like fat king beta too, like
Yeah.
the biggest freaking beta I've ever seen in my life. And he's just chilling, laying on a leaf, basically on the top of a surface of water with barely any water on him. And so, like, I think that beta was living his best life, basically. Right.
Yeah. I love that.
Right. And
There you go. I ask these questions only because there's a lot of more newbies out there that are trying to figure out the beta situation because they are beautiful fish and they're
Yeah.
all over the
They're
place.
very common. They're huge common fish to get as a starter fish too.
Well, and they're really good starter fish just because they can
Yeah.
tolerate a lot of crap. You don't want
Doesn't
your
mean that
fish
you
to-
should do that to them.
No,
Please don't do that to them.
no. But they're going to tolerate your beginner mistakes. Like,
Yeah.
the package says I need to change out the filter cartridge every month,
Yeah, yeah, those.
or
started.
they don't need a heater. They need a heater, but like they can tolerate colder water for a lot longer than other fish
Mhm.
could.
I'm waiting for someone to do the study of, because I'm surprised I haven't been able to find anything on it yet, but whether or not having a labyrinth organ makes them less susceptible to toxicity, like ammonia toxicity in water, which I guarantee you it doesn't. It probably prolongs just ever so minutely their demise, but it probably really affects their, like, I guarantee you that ammonification or ammonia poisoning really affects their gills and doesn't allow any oxygen through
So,
anyway.
What I
But
understand, is that it actually messes with the hemoglobin.
yeah, so their oxygen content in their blood is not
It's
high
not
enough.
able. Yes. So I would think that the labyrinth organ doesn't matter, but that's why the fish typically gasp at the surface when they have ammonia poisoning, because that's what their natural response is when they can't get enough oxygen.
Yeah, that's true.
The more you know.
Yep.
I learned so much from this show. You guys are awesome.
Yo.
Even me. So, anything else to do with betas and putting betas in small tanks with 100 other fish?
So
I think, I don't want to say this person who has the information got it wrong, but I think if this person's asking for information about this and they're sincere, I think partnering with someone, just like Kyle always says, is get a mentor, figure out what you can do and what you can't do and what's possible. It's easier when you do that because forums can only go so far. So
yeah.
Edison, you were gonna say something?
Yeah, I was just gonna talk general about like beta tank mates. Beta tank mates are a hard maybe.
Snails are good. I like snails.
Snails are always good.
In
Snails
fact,
will get left alone.
The oldest living aquatic animal that I have, and this is from 2016, right, from my first tank, is a Nerite, and he's behind me. So, and this is his tank. It's not like he shares it. He shares it with other invertebrates, but he is the invertebrate in there. That's his tank. And so, like, you know, but
and like for example, there are some, and aggression with betas is entirely up to the individual fish. It's not like just, oh yeah, this fish always works with a beta. No, it's this fish could work with a beta if the beta will work with them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's also another thing that's kind of weird about my job too. They really stress the personalities of each individual like animal at a zoo, at an AZA specifically zoo, but like at my zoo. Like they're like, Fergus is super shy, you can't walk him, you have to go up behind him real slow. There's a tarantula, she's really dramatic, so you have to be very cautious. And like there's an armadillo that came from Tulsa and he loves to play. Like it's so weird, but like he'll just like jump up and be like, yep, okay, let's go, let's do this, let's do it, and like he'll attack your hand, he'll like attack brushes, and like that's just his way of interacting with us. So
yeah,
and
funny to just put all the fish into one little bubble.
Right.
Nope, all betas, they're just this, like
all betas have a
they're all evil.
That's all I can say is that all betas have a personality. So like my two betas over here, Carl and Sir William. Sir William is a little bit more aggressive, but he doesn't mind it. I got lucky with both my betas that they don't mind tank mates so much. So like I got pygmy cories in both tanks. I've got like a couple shoaling fish in there. The only difference I've really noticed is that Sir William likes to, he's more of a what you would call like a king. aptly named, I guess. But he kind of likes to overlook his little shoaling fish and his people. And
I am the captain now.
right. One time I had a sick honey gourami that I was trying to observe a little bit better, because in the big 55 it's kind of hard to just observe a fish. They can hide in a lot of different places, and I'm like, I need to observe this sick fish. So I put it in there with Sir William, because I was pretty sure it wasn't infectious. And Sir William was just not happy about this honey gourami in there. He wasn't attacking it. He was just kind of like annoyed with it. You could tell he was like flaring at it and like would swim off angrily and then like come back and flare at it and then like swim off angrily. The honey gourami is just like not feeling well, so it's just kind of like, bruh. But then I was like, okay, Sir William's not happy about this, so I put the honey gourami in with Carl, and Carl just like kind of looked at him for a second and was like, eh.
Whatever. I
And
know the personalities come out. It's really funny, man. See how they react to other fish.
yeah,
Sometimes they're buddy. Random fish are just buddies, and sometimes they're like antisocial. Get away from me, you know.
like there's this video I saw on one of the Discord servers I'm a part of, where somebody was like talking about why their shrimp are disappearing, and they're like, it's definitely not the beta. I've taken time lapses. I've taken like, you know, I've had like a 24-hour recording of this beta fish with the shrimp, and the beta fish would just come up and just like stare at the shrimp. It didn't attack him, didn't touch him. It would just kind of stare at the shrimp.
What is this? I see on the other side. I was teaching someone how to do Neo Caridina, and just talking about water chemistry and all that jazz. And then they were like, I want to do a beta. And I'm like, okay, just make sure you don't put the shrimp and the beta together. Okay, sure. And then I get Facebook videos in Messenger, like a day later, like just her up to the tank, like, look, he's eating them all. And I'm like, that's the most expensive snack you just bought your beta. It wiped out 10 shrimp in like 48 hours.
Oh yeah,
Like,
that beta was probably so happy.
living high on the horse, flaming young for 48 hours, man.
right.
Yeah.
If you want to enrich your beta at some point, you could just like add some cold shrimp.
That's what there's a image I got from another hobbyist where it's a bunch of cardinal tetras ripping apart a shrimp. And I posted every time someone goes, what kind of fish are good with shrimp tanks? And I'm like, all fish, they're good. And then I post that picture, literally like 3 of these dudes ripping limbs off this thing, dude. It's such a greatly timed picture for this conversation. And I always post it anytime it comes up. My standard answer is always like, if it's a shrimp tank, no fish. If it's a fish tank that you may want them to snack on some shrimp once in a while, then yeah, throw some in and put some good hiding spots. They may live, they may not, but
well, you can get away with like bigger shrimp, like ghost shrimp, Amano shrimp. They can generally
Amanos are pretty good for that kind of stuff.
And it depends on the beta. The beta can just gore Amano shrimp because it wants to. But like I have with my pea puffers, I have a handful of Amano shrimp in there, and they just don't care.
Leave them alone.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I had a beta in here as a rescue, and he passed. But while he was in there, he had a snack on my entire colony of shrimp. Like I had 100 of them, easily 100 of them, and now I have 2. Sad.
Hometown buffet in there, man.
Oh man, he had a good end to his life, you know.
I was gonna say he went down swinging, man.
It's like dying at Chuckarama, you know what I mean?
I felt really bad for him too because I knew he was gonna pass. He had dropsy, and so like I put him in here, and I was like, okay, he's not gonna live that long. A month later, he finally passes, or I finally have to put him down, and then I'm like, what happened to all my shrimp? The heck?
Oh, well,
right. And so like
there for a bit.
Coming full circle, betas are one of the fish that you can't say for sure what's going to work with them.
Just get to know them. Get to know your beta.
And
just like you get to know a dog or a cat.
And a lot of the time,
take it out on a date. You know, treat it nice.
You also have to make sure that you have a minimum of a 10-gallon if you're thinking of tank mates.
Yes,
just
yeah.
I agree with
put
that.
tank mates in a
If you
5,000
have aspirations for tank mates, get bigger, obviously, but you know.
get a 15,
All
get
right.
a 20,
For-
you know.
For sake of time, I feel like we beat this one down.
Yeah, we
have
did.
another. We have 3 of these, right? We have 2 more.
We have 3 questions. So, I mean, I was going to let you decide which of the 2 that you want to talk about, but, or I guess also the big topic, which I don't know if you guys want to do that or not, but
Let's do.
it's an interesting one.
It's not in the outline. The questions aren't. So do one more, and then we'll do the big thing.
Yeah. So the questions I chose are the bolded ones.
Oh, from down below.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's do one of those.
Well, say either about plants or reliable products.
Or breeding.
I don't know, man. I'm not a big product guy, to be honest. So it's like that's a pretty short answer question for me.
Okay. So breeding.
What are the breeding?
Yeah.
I didn't see one about. Oh, yeah. Let's do that because I could learn some stuff too. Is amateur breeding ethical? In which case, is or isn't? Why wouldn't it be? I mean, why would it be unethical? It's not like to some degree dogs, where they
I
just
guess.
start running around
Well,
the streets.
yeah, but like
Think
if
about
you
it.
were overbreeding for profit, basically, and you had overstocked tanks, you had less ability to care for them.
Yeah.
That would be unethical.
Or
But
live bearers,
anyway.
for example, are really easy to unethically breed because they breed out of control. If you don't have a plan for them, they're all going to end up in the same tank and they're all going to interbreed. So you end up with like some sweet Alabama lovin', and you get
Brother, sister, wives.
right. No. Like children will mate with parents or grandparents, and it's like because you have these generations quick enough in such a short times period where they're all in their reproductive phases, and they will reproduce with each other, and so you get a lot of inbreeding that way.
Bad genetics too.
And you
I
have
think. Sorry, keep going.
Oh, and you have things like the dwarf gourami, for example. The dwarf gourami iridovirus, it's terrible. Because it's been bred into these fish. The susceptibility to some weird virus that just wipes them out. And it's like I've read a statistic somewhere where it's about like 50-50 on if you're going to get one that gets it or not. But I've probably got it around 100% in my tanks just because of probably where all the fish I get are sourced from.
So another part of that too is, I guess, your purpose for breeding, right? If you are keeping them for a different tank, like let's say I picked up 5 or 6 Corridoras because I wanted Corridoras for my tank downstairs because I love them. That would be okay for me, in my mind. It would not be okay if I picked up guppies because I got a clownfish that needs to eat live food. And that's how I'm going to get the live food to that clownfish. I don't feel like that's okay. Obviously, there are people out there who are probably going to be like, you're wrong, stop being stupid. You know, it's an easy way of getting free food. But I guess the ethics behind it, that's just how I feel. Obviously, it's no surprise. I work at an AZA accredited zoo and I care about animals all the time. And so it's not like one of those things that, like, you know, shouldn't surprise anybody. But alongside that, and also this is kind of another key point, is in Idaho, there's lots of things that are considered invasive. And so there's that ethical dilemma too. Am I going to breed something that possibly someone's going to be stupid and ruin my ecosystem around me? Right.
Yeah. So
too
many fish in the tanks themselves. Overbreeding is another issue where you start messing up genetics to some degree, and you can breed in genetic issues without the introduction, from what I know, without the introduction of fresh or new DNA to some extent, or genetics.
Yep.
And then, the classic having illegal livestock or plant in general that, if gets tossed into municipal water supplies or natural sources, could cause environmental issues.
Yeah, I think those are the three big parts. But again, I'm all for it if you're doing it for another reason, right?
Right. There's, like for me, I'm trying to breed some fish just out of the fun of it. But it's not so much just like the fun of it. I kind of want to get to understand these fish, their life cycle, I want to, experience raising fish. But also I have a plan with it. It's not just, oh, I want to breed these fish, and I think
Just to
then
see what
pulling them out,
happens.
pull them
I
out of the
think that's
tank and throw them against a wall or something.
right. That's the problem with live bears. A lot is most amateur breeding is going to be live bears, and a lot of people just breed them and don't have a plan for them.
I heard a sickening story of a guy that had a bunch of fish and then would go fishing in his fish tank, and would. This is someone like, you keep fish tanks, and I'm like, yeah, just trying to like have this casual conversation with this person, and they're like, yeah, I had them in college. We used to buy these special ones, and then we go fishing sitting on the couch, see if we could catch one and pull it out. And like, I'm like, what are you just laughing at it, like flopping around on your carpet? Like, there's so many questions from that, but I was like horrified. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, that's kind of weird.
Right.
Like,
Yeah, there was someone, I just watched it recently. I have to send it to you guys, but someone made a cooking, like how to cook barbs, tiger barbs. And I'm like,
why would you
okay,
want them?
I get that. Well, yeah, but then like they start off the video by saying, just, I'm going to ask a question. How are these any different than other sport fish before you start judging me? And I mean, I guess he has a point, right? But like also it's a little morbid, right? Especially if we keep the aquariums in our own house and like these have been your pets for 7, 8 years. You're like, yep, all right, it's time to go. And then all of a sudden,
like, here's how you cook dog. Like,
yeah, exactly.
dog.
That's exactly my thought.
Yeah.
Well, and so that's kind of the ethical dilemma of breeding too. Like, I know of, like, for example, if you keep an Oscar cichlid, it needs live food. So one of the things that you can do is breed guppies for your Oscar cichlid. And my opinion on that is, if as long as you're treating your guppies right, food or not, it's like as long as they're not like having a terrible life just to be eaten, you know what I mean? Then it's like maybe that I can live with that. But kind of
all
like
Rosie minnows just cried in unison.
But if you're like breeding them in a little 1 gallon tank with no filter and just like,
yeah, I understand what you're saying though.
Right. It's like
one of the most horrific things I've ever experienced, and I guess this will be my last point on this, but at the aquarium I used to work at, they did live feedings sometimes, and they would starve the big saltwater like angelfish tanks that are full of like really predator fish that are still too small to like do any big damage to like each other, but eventually they'll get moved to a bigger tank, right? In those live feedings they would get comic goldfish because that's their live food that they would use, and they would drop in one at a time, and you'd have 75 fish go all at this goldfish at once. And it's one of those things that I'm like, I can't believe that happened. I can't believe that that's a thing. So anyway, that was my last point.
Right. So it's like, and I keep snakes, and I have a very picky ball python that will only eat live rats. And my dilemma, at least the way I resolved the dilemma, is that I don't abuse the rat on the way home. I source it from a place where I know they're not abusing the rats, they're not just mistreating them, they actually have a good breeding habits, they have good raising habits, good standards for these rats to live, so that when it does get fed to my snake, it's not like just been abused its whole life, it had a good life, you know what I mean? It was treated right. And I think that's you can apply that to like the meat industry and whatnot. it's like, as long as it's ethically sourced, like, we take care of the animals that we're supposed to take care of. Even if their purpose is to be food, it's like that's kind of how carnivores are.
Yeah.
Carnivores got to eat.
Unfortunately, at some point, Mother Nature's pretty rough.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
there are certain species of animals that just are someone's food, unfortunately. So you get this, like, yeah, like, save all the lives, which is not reasonable to some extent, because you're going to have some species go extinct.
Yeah.
And the other side, which is just kill everything for fun. There's some sort of middle ground between those two, which is
That's why we have
normal way to do things.
Department of Fish and Game per each state and laws and that kind of stuff, and tags specifically. Don't overfish, stupid people.
Overhunt.
Right. And that's kind of where I'm like with like the meat industry, for example. There's a TikToker. He's a dairy farmer, but they, when the cows reach past their prime and they're not producing enough milk, they just send them to the slaughterhouse. But they have it so that, like, the cows don't even feel fear on the way to the slaughter. They don't even, because Temple Grandin, yeah, Temple something like that. Temple Grandin designed, the little chutes for the cows to go in, and they're just like, they don't even feel fear, they're not even stressed, and it's quick, it's painless, and it's not like, and we've, in taking care of them, in using them for our good, we've also done really good for them too, because we've extended their life expectancy way past what it would be in the wild.
Yeah.
So
what I'm kind of curious on the shrimp aspect of this, right, from Kyle, because I assume when people breed shrimp and they're really pushing for breeding shrimp, right, and they're like, let's get a huge colony, I assume people want to sell them, right, because they're a really kind of big money maker, right?
Yeah.
What do you think of, like, the ethical dilemmas for shrimp breeding?
A lot of what you guys said applies to a lot of different types of breeding to some extent. You can definitely put way too many things in a small container, or even a container that's not even designed to house and breed things, like those little friggin' jars they put betas in. So there's a lot of that. Genetics, same difference with genetics. They degrade, the genetics degrade over time. It's a lot of the same stuff we talked about just applies to shrimp, basically.
Cool.
And kind of, I think it goes down to the person's intentions, and it sounds corny, but where their heart is in the process. Are they really trying to care for these things and make a few bucks on the side, selling them to other hobbyists? If they really are trying to take care of it and they're pulling out extras to keep what they have healthy and everyone thriving, then cool, they can make an extra buck out of that, and someone else gets to experience them. But yeah, when you just get these fish farms and even shrimp farms, it just gets sad. Like, it just gets super sad super quick. So I think it all boils down to the person's intentions, if they are to take care of them while trying to also breed, or just pack them all in this little thing like sardines and make a moneymaker out of them. So
yeah, I agree. All right, well, let's move on to the big discussion, because that one is even more controversial than our last.
What should you do? What should you do if you know a store or a person that isn't maintaining their tanks correctly, or have an obvious issue with their setup? Ooh, confrontation or
confrontational. Yeah.
My personal thing is just education. I mean, I can't tell you how many people I've mentored where I've had success mentoring them and they listen. And then some just have it in their mind that they want to do what they want to do regardless. So
yeah,
I think there's what we can control and then what we can't control. And what I can control is what I tell this person, and not scold them, but be very clear in my opinion on it. And either they're going to change or they won't. and there's not much we can do about it, but we can at least speak up and say something. It doesn't have to be like, dude, your tank looks terrible. You need to be doing this, and like bashing people over the head with info, because most of the time it's like, what is that, non-Newtonian fluid, where the harder you push, the harder it resists, kind of thing. Like same with information, and especially for correcting someone, doing it in a manner which is kind of out of love for the fish and the livestock to some degree, and love with them, and say, hey, we noticed this can cause issues. I'd highly suggest, from my knowledge, that you do this or move fish or do whatever, not put 20 fish in a beta in a 20 gallon.
Yeah.
My approach.
Edison?
Yeah, definitely a lot of what, a lot of these problems that we talk about come about from misinformation. I see a lot of posts on the pea puffer subreddit about, hey, can I keep this pea puffer in a 5-gallon tank? And it's like, well, yes, but I wouldn't.
Yeah.
And it's like, they need a shoal. And it's like a lot of misinformation. It's a lot of, just not having access or doing the research beforehand. And it's not like, everybody's like, oh, I can keep a fish. It's like, it's not like a bad thing to be uneducated. It's just that you need to know that you're uneducated.
Yeah, humility.
Yeah, and so like Kyle said, it's like the non-Newtonian fluid. The harder you push, the harder it's gonna they're gonna fight back a lot of the time. And if a lot of the time you can't change it. You can say, hey, this isn't cool. This is actually hurting the fish. The fish is not gonna do well, and it's gonna die pretty quick here. But at the end of the day, it's up to them, and you can't really do anything outside of stealing fish.
What about you, Chris? What is your approach?
For me, I see both points. I see my issue, right, is because I'm still going through a huge issue with this, right? I worked as a aquatic zoologist for an aquarium for 4 months. And the entire 4 months, the owner literally did nothing I advised him to do. And there was a lot of things that actively no, your aquarium is here because you keep buying fish and you're replacing what you're losing, basically. And it's still ongoing, right? I'm partnering with PETA, and we're working on an entire official documentation so that way the public knows about it. While I do admit at some points I feel like I have gone too far, and every time I think that, I can't help but think back to the animals themselves, and say, these fish were not bred just to die. And at a certain point, in my mind, someone needs to be held accountable to it. That isn't to say hobbyists need to be held accountable for killing fish, because it's something that happens all the time. I think it's important. Well, okay, but I think it's important for people to have fish that die, because it teaches them not only empathy, but it also teaches them, okay, maybe I should approach this different.
Yeah.
And especially as a new hobbyist, right? It's one of those things, I hate to say it, but you will kill fish, and that's just something that you're going to have to get used to. Yeah. It's just, I guess, in the amount is my issue. If it's consistent and it's a problem, and it's obviously I don't want to say stuck in your way, but there's people who know that it's an issue and have advised you multiple times. And I'm not the only one that has advised my previous boss about this. The entire team quit at one point, and then he had to get a new team, but that was for a different reason. But they were all pretty much.
You say you can fix ignorance, you can't fix stupid. And
exactly.
Just knows and doesn't do anything about it.
Yeah. And so I don't know. I think that's my standpoint on it, and obviously people are going to think otherwise. But I think it's important that in a volume size, if you see something, say something. But obviously you can't kill everything. So
Right. And a lot of it comes down to abuse just really comes down to intent.
Yeah.
If somebody's
That's
trying to
definitely
keep a fish, if somebody's trying to keep a beta fish happy, but they just don't know what to do, I wouldn't call that abuse. If they put it in, if they do what the
I'd call
internet
that
says.
growing pains.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, learning
And
curves.
it's
for sure.
unfortunate that the animals are going to suffer because of ignorance, but it's like you said, the goal with a beginner is you're going to kill fish, but the goal isn't to kill the fish. The goal isn't to massively kill off these fish for profit or whatever. It's to learn, to grow, to make it so that you don't kill fish down the road.
Yeah.
I think you nailed it with intent, man. What is a person's intent? Their intention is to care for it, or their intention is to charge everybody who wants to come in here ahead and just keep the same fish alive so that they can charge everyone. That's very different. So
Yeah. And I'm not saying, I guess, kind of with that, I'm not saying.
I'm kidding. I'm sorry. Go.
I just to clarify too, I'm not saying that the intent of my previous boss is to kill every fish that goes into his aquarium. I guarantee you that wasn't something that when he was planning to open an aquarium, he was like, yeah, that's going to be my business model, because it's an expensive as hell business model, right? I do think though he has lost touch not only with what's happening in his aquarium because of his staff not being regular, not being trained, not being knowledgeable, but I think he has also kind of gotten to the point where he doesn't trust anybody else anymore, and he's just kind of like, my way is just the way that we're going to do it. And unfortunately, in a huge setting like an aquarium, teamwork is the most important part, because if you try to do it all yourself, you ain't going to. That's just not how that works. Right. But like I said, I'm not, because obviously I don't want to get sued, but eventually when this does blow all over, I'm not trying to say that his intent is to murder every fish that goes into his aquarium. It was definitely not that, but it's something that is happening, and I think it needs to be addressed fully. So
right, and I think that's really the difference between AZA rated aquariums, zoos, whatever, is not that they're not trying to make a profit. It's where their heart lies. Do they want the animals to be happy, or do they want to turn a profit? There's kind of two. You have to balance those two ideas, and if you fall too heavy on one side, you're not going to work out.
Yeah, I think that's a really good statement, and I think that's a really good point to be at. So
it's like it's not necessarily non-AZA rated zoos and aquariums. I don't think they're out to kill fish. I don't think they're out to abuse animals. I think they're just trying to turn a profit, and fish die as a result, and they don't really feel like changing policies, procedures, because that would take too much effort or money
aquarium.
And so it's one of those things where it's like, it's not necessarily that they're trying to kill fish, it's just a sad result of their intent showing.
And eventually things will eventually people learn. So, but I will say it's a little frustrating when someone is like, we can't afford to pay the staff, we can't afford to get more knowledgeable staff, we can't afford to do these, but then they drive like a custom Tesla or crap like that. I'm just like, what the heck?
As a business owner myself, it is sad to see that a lot of business owners take care of themselves only, off the backs of others, and it's bad. It's bad practice.
Once we go off air, I'll tell you a lot more. But anyway.
On that note, see you guys later. No, just kidding.
Bye.
No, but it is time though. And
we have to call it.
I think we reached a natural conclusion there.
Yeah, I think this week was really cool. And I think if my boss was watching, he would definitely give me a raise. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Yeah, you definitely.
Yeah. I have two by the mouth of two witnesses. I shall be. Yeah, there you go.
Yep.
Right.
All right, let's play the outro. Thanks for joining us, guys.
Thank you.
See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.